So I have this sign that I made, and it is a piece of pine that I went through and stained and routed and got ready. And then I went and made the Our Father prayer for a client, and I did the whole design in Cricut Design Space. So I cut that out on regular vinyl. I went ahead and weeded everything, and now it's time to put this massive amount of words onto this 21-inch long plaque, which can be a little bit tricky, and I have some tricks for how to do that, so I'm going to show you that now. So there are a few different kinds of transfer tapes. Cricut makes one that's a strong transfer tape. I also have some, let's see, I've got different pieces of transfer tape. I've also got this roll that I picked up online, and this is probably what some of the shops and professionals use. It's a huge roll that costs me a lot less than buying anything from Cricut, but I don't even know if it has a brand name. It's not the strongest tape, but it usually will work depending on which kind of vinyl that I'm using. So it just peels on itself. It doesn't have a liner. So I'm going to go ahead and use this to cover all of the wording. Now it's really important to burnish everything once you put your transfer tape on. You can use a credit card, you can use anything that's pointy. This one comes from Cricut. So I'm going to go along and I'm just going to make sure that I really push down on all of the vinyl so that it will stick to the front side of this sheet. Now I've done a bunch of different kinds of signs in the past, and the worst thing is when you get it all ready and then you peel it and you think you have it all lined up and you put it down and you're a little bit off center. Even just a little bit, it just looks so bad. And so I found a way to do this where I don't end up with something crooked in the end, and it's a lot less frustrating. So I've covered the entire thing with my tape. I've gone ahead and I've brushed it all in really, really well, and I've lined it up where I want it at this point. So to make sure that it's about even how I think it'll be on the sign. And I designed this in Cricut Design Space to be sure that it was even to start with, that it was going to be a equal border on both sides, and and everything. So I did that in advance, but now I'm to the point where I'm ready to put this on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do one section at a time. So I'm going to start at the top, and if it's not coming off, which does happen, you can try re-burnishing it and see if that helps, or you may have to go back with a tool, like one of the scraper tools, to help get the pieces off. This is sticking pretty well. This is one of the vinyls that actually works well on this. Okay, so I'm only gonna cut, let's see, I'm pretty safe with about this much to start with. I don't want to do too much because I can mess everything up then. So I've bent this back, and now what I want to do is go along with my scissors, and I want to cut this liner that's behind it here. I'm going to get the liner out of there. This is all still placed exactly where I wanted it, but now I'm going to be putting this down on the actual wood. Alright, so that part's done. The rest of this still needs to be pulled off. There's two ways you can do it. This is a very long piece, but if I were to peel this from the bottom up and try to lay it back down, there could be a lot of problems. It's going to get really hard with this much wording to start pulling this off and hope that nothing sticks together. So I've just learned from messing this up enough times to not do that, not overdo it. So you can see how it's still sticking on here. You do need to go back and burnish it again. And if it still isn't coming, this is where you have to start going in with a tool to get it started. So this can be very tedious when you're dealing with a lot of lettering, but if you just get the top part started for it, then you should be able to peel it the rest of the way off. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to burnish it a little bit more, and I'm going to get the top part of the stickiness here taken off. I also want to show you that sometimes when you're pulling back on the letter, it's lifting the letter some. I'll stick the edge of this in and hold it down to make sure it doesn't distort the letters, because it will pull the vinyl and the vinyl will stretch and your letter will become distorted. So you may need to hold down while you peel off so that it stays nice. So this can definitely be a tedious process, so don't think you're doing something wrong if you're not just easily able to pull it right off. Part of it depends on what material you're putting it onto. This is a freshly stained piece of wood, and the stain is making it a little harder to get this to stick. I've done this on big sheets of plexiglass, and on plexiglass it does tend to stick a little bit better and come off this better, but the stain is keeping it, and a painted surface may be similar, that it's not as easy. So there we go, first line done. I'm just going to press it down and moving on to the next line. Another helpful tip is that if you pull on an angle, that tends to help not stretch your letters as much. So if you can, especially if you've got something bigger and not all these tiny letters, and you go on an angle, it can help quite a bit. In this case, it's not really, because I'm working with crazy small letters and a lot of them, but when I've worked with bigger pieces, pull on an angle if you can. Okay, so I got the first little part done. It's been like 2 hours. Okay, I'm exaggerating. Not quite 2 hours, but it has been a little while to get that done. I suggest getting a good audio book to listen to while you're sitting here doing this. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do the next section now. I wish it would come off of the transfer tape as nice as it comes up onto it. That would be great. I'm going to move another section, another third of it. And again, I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to go ahead and put that back down. So okay. There we go. And I think I'll time it this time so I can let you know how long it takes me to get to this point. All right, so that took me 41 minutes to get that far. So this is not a quick process, but hopefully you'll have better luck with whatever vinyl you're using. So I'm gonna finish peeling this off, and then the rest of this should take me another 40 minutes. At the very end, you just want to be sure that you don't lose it. I'm gonna make sure I'm holding this, because if this shifts, that's gonna be a problem. There we go. I'm going to push up the center and then out to the sides. All right. There we go. When I reuse this, I think that it's going to be maybe work a little bit better because it'll be less sticky. So that's my hope. Did that. Oh, that's the other nice thing is once you've done this once, it generally sticks pretty well. It won't fall back down and pull up pieces you've already done. So at least there's that. So in the end, this took me about an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half, to take all of the letters off the transfer tape and get them onto the board. But you can see that there was very little margin for error, and making this perfectly straight was definitely going to be a trick. So I just wanted to share with you how I do that when I need to get something perfectly straight, just taking part of the liner off at a time from the transfer tape and slowly taking off those parts and then moving down is definitely a way to keep it exactly where you want it. And I hope that helps.